Okay. Question number 1, they want you to find the trapezoidal rule. Trapezoidal rule goes like this: upper limit minus lower limit over n all over 2. Upper limit in our case, of course, into something. We'll find that something. Upper limit in our case is 3. Lower limit is 1. N is the number of subintervals, 4. 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 over 4 is 0.5. Cool. Now we want to find this. How do we find that? Well, we take the lower limit and we keep adding 0.5 until we get the upper limit. So 1 plus 0.5 is 1.5. 1.5 plus 0.5 is 2. 2 plus 0.5 is 2.5. 2.5 plus 0.5 is 3. And the upper limit is 3. So we stop. What you do now is you take the value of the function at every point we listed. So 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and 3. And we're done. But the difference is, whatever is between the extremities, you have to multiply it by 2. So whatever is inside here, you multiply it by 2. You multiply it by 2. So you multiply this by 2. Anything that is not the extremities, you multiply it by 2. Bas. And that's actually the answer. We're done. F of 1 is 6. F of 1.5 is 15. F of 2 is 24. F of 2.5 is 32. And F of 3 is 20. And we're done. Put that into the calculator, you get 42. Next question. dy dx is equal to 3x squared radical 1 minus y squared. We're going to isolate the x's together, and we're going to isolate the y's together. So how do we do that? We cross multiply, we bring the dx over here, so that goes away. And now we divide by radical 1 minus y squared. So now what did we do? This cancels out. Now what did we do? X's are together, y's are together. So to get rid of the dx and dy, what do? We just integrate on both sides. The integral of 3x squared is just x cubed, of course, plus c. And the integral of that, well, the integral of 1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared dx, you're supposed to memorize it. It's arc sine of x. But in our case, we're talking about y, yeah? So that's going to be arc sine of y. So this whole thing is just arc sine of y. Okay. Now, what we need to do is we need to find the value of c. How do we do that? They gave you initial conditions. When x is 0, y is 0. So when x is 0, y is 0. Now you can solve for c. 0 cubed is 0. 0 plus c is c. Arc sine of 0, put that on the calculator, you get 0. So c is 0. So c equals 0. So again, you have arc sine of y is equal to x cubed plus c. c is 0, so that's a 0. That goes away. Now we need to get rid of the arc sine. Arc sine, by the way, just means inverse sine. So we just take sine on both sides. You take sine on this side as well. Sine or inverse sine cancel out. So what are you left with? Y. So what is y equal to? Y is equal to sine x cubed. Tick. Next question. Same procedure. dy over dx is equal to 6x squared plus 2x plus 1 all over 2y. Cross multiply, bring the dx here. Okay. Multiply by 2y on this side, multiply by 2y on this side. Y, we need to remove the 2y, so this cancels out. Cool. So now you have the y's on one side and the x's on the other side. So what do? You integrate. Integral of 6x squared is just 2x cubed. Integral of 2x is x squared. Integral of 1 is x. And don't forget, plus c. Always, there's a plus c in every integration. The integral of 2x dx is just x squared. So the integral of 2y dy is just y squared. So this thing is just y squared. And they want you to solve for the constant of integration. The constant of integration is c. Let's put initial conditions. When x is 1, y is 5. So when x is 1, y is 5. 5 squared is 25. 1 cubed is 1. 1 squared is 1. 2 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. So 4 plus c is equal to 25. So you take this to this side, you get that c is equal to 25 minus 4. 25 minus 4 is 21. Okay, this question is the least question you'll have trouble with, actually. It's the easiest question on the entire sheet. You don't even have to derive or do anything. All you're going to do is substitute numbers. So let's zoom in. You see, this point is found on every graph. So we're going to use that point. They gave you dy dx. What is dy dx? dy dx is the derivative. The derivative is the slope of the tangent. And luckily for you, they drew out the tangents for you. You can see them, صح? Right there, right there, right there, right there, there. Those are tangents. So the slope of the tangent is given to you. We're just going to have to find it. So let's take a random point. Let's take this point. This point is x is 0, y is 1. Yeah? You're on the y-axis. Right here. This point, x is 0, y is 1. So when x is 0, y is equal to 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 squared is 4. Pi by 0 is 0. Cosine 0 is 1. So the derivative at the point 0, 1 is 4. So at the point 0, 1, the derivative is going to be a positive slope. Positive slope, and it slants upwards. Negative slope, and it slants downwards. And when the derivative is 0, it's a horizontal line. In our case, it's a positive number, so it should slant upwards. So at 0, 1, it should slant upwards. Now, let's look at all of these. Here, it doesn't slant upwards. Here, it's horizontal. Here, it doesn't slant upwards. It's horizontal. Same thing here. So this is wrong, and this is wrong. What are we left with? Well, we are left with these two options. Because here it slants upwards, and here it slants upwards. So what do we do now? Well, we check another point. What point are we going to check? 0 minus 1. When x is 0, y is minus 1. Again, we're going to substitute values. So we have this, صح? We have this, yeah? So x is 0, y is minus 1. Minus 1 plus 1 is 0. 0 squared is 0. 0 multiplied by anything is 0. So the derivative at 0 minus 1 is 0. So it's a horizontal line at minus 1. Which one of these pictures has a horizontal line at minus 1? Here, it's a slanted line. Here, it's a horizontal line. So, tick there. Circle. Cool. So now this question. You have the integral of half cosine cubed 2x dx. Cosine cubed is the same thing as saying cosine by cosine squared. Yeah? Okay, it's basically like x cubed is just x multiplied by x squared, you know, power of 1, power of 2, power of 1, power of 2, you know. Okay. Cosine squared 2x, so we know that sine squared plus cosine squared is equal to 1. So if we want to find cosine squared, what do? We take sine squared to the other side, so it becomes 1 minus sine squared. But sine squared of what? We're talking about 2x. 2x, 2x. So this is just 1 minus sine squared 2x. Cool. Okay, so now you have the integral of half cosine 2x into 1 minus sine 2x all squared. dx, of course. Okay. Now we have a function and its derivative. The derivative of sine is cosine. So what do we do now? We do a substitution. We let u is equal to sine 2x. So du is going to be equal to the derivative of the inside, which is 2, multiplied by the derivative of the outside, which is cosine. But dx. Now we want to solve for dx, so this is what happens. That cancels out. So dx is du over 2 cosine x. So dx is du over 2 cosine 2x. Cosine 2x cancel out. Sine 2x is just u. So that's just u squared. Yeah? So that's just u squared. That's another half, so you put half there. Half multiplied by half is 1 over 4. So you have 1 over 4, the integral of 1 minus u squared du. The integral of 1 with respect to u is u. Then you have a minus. The integral of u squared is u cubed over 3. That goes away. Then you multiply everything by 1 over 4. And yep, we are done. So what happens now? We undo the substitution. U is sine 2x. That's just sine 2x. And that's just sine 2x cubed, of course. So, yeah, okay. Yeah, we're done. Now they want you to input pi over 4. So we input pi over 4. Pi over 4, 2, 4 cancel out, becomes pi over 2. Same thing over here, that becomes pi over 2. On the calculator in radians mode, sine pi over 2 is 1. Sine pi over 2 is 1. 1 cubed is 1. 1 minus 1. 1 minus 1/3 is 2/3. 2/3 multiplied by 1 over 4 is just 1 over 6. Next question. The integral of cosine squared 12x. Okay. So what are we going to do here? We are going to use an identity. There is an identity that tells you cosine squared of x minus sine squared of x is equal to cosine of 2x. In our case, what's inside isn't x, what's inside is 12x. So we take this out, we put 12x instead of x. This becomes a 12x. And instead of x becomes a 12x. 2 multiplied by 12 is 24. So that's just a 24x. Cool. So now we need to solve for cosine squared. صح? Okay. Sine squared, again, we already established this, صح? Sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. So for the rest of the video, I will not show you this. I'll just substitute immediately. So sine squared is just 1 minus cosine squared. But in our case, we're talking about 12x. So that's just 12x. So sine squared 12x is 1 minus cosine squared 12x. So 1 minus cosine squared 12x. Distribute the negative. So it becomes minus 1 plus cosine squared. Cosine squared plus cosine squared is 2 cosine squared. So 2 cosine squared 12x minus 1 is cosine 24x. Now we need to solve for cosine squared 12x. So what do? Divide by 2. No, wait. Sorry. Take the minus 1 to this side, becomes a plus 1. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. 2 cancel. So cosine squared 12x is just cosine 24x plus 1 over 2. So cosine 24x plus 1 all over 2. That is a constant. We can pull it out. The integral of 1, so again, wait, you have a half, so you put a half over here. Then, the integral of 1 is x. So that's gone. So what are we left with? The integral of 24x. And we're going to put it inside there. So we just need to find the integral of cosine 24x. How do we do that? We're going to do a substitute. We're going to do a substitution. U is equal to 24x. So du is going to be 24 dx. Multiply by 24, divide by 24 on both sides. This goes away. So we do the substitution now. Dx is just du over 24. And 24x is just u. That's a constant. You can pull it out. So that's 1 over 24. The integral of cosine is sine. So sine u. And you have 1 over 24. But what is u? U is 24x. So 24x. So that is just sine 24x over 24. Okay, so now we're done. What we're gonna do is we're gonna distribute this half. So if you distribute the half, you get half over here, and you get a half over here. Half multiplied by 1 over 24 is just that. So your answer is sine 24x over 48, so 48 plus half x, half 1 over 2. اللي بعده 128 integral of cosine 2x cosine squared 2x sine squared 2x, and let's see how this goes. Okay, there is another identity I'm going to teach you, and it goes like this. Sine of 2x is equal to 2 sine x multiplied by cosine x. So if we were to pull this out, put the power there, so we have cosine multiplied by sine. So cosine multiplied by sine. So what do we need to do? Divide by 2. Divide by 2. Cancel, yeah? So now you have cosine multiplied by sine. Okay, but we're not talking about cosine x and sine x. We're talking about sine 2x and cosine 2x. So our x gets replaced by 2x. This is just 4x. Okay. Now we need it squared, so we square this side and we square this side. So this whole thing, which is the same thing as this, is just equal to this. So we can just substitute, remove all of this garbage, and you just put sine 4x over 2 all squared dx. Distribute the square, you get 2 squared here, you get sine squared here. Cool. 2 squared is 4. Constant, we can pull it out. 128 over 4 is just 32, I believe, so 32, 4, 8, 128, yes. Okay, so what we're left with is this. How are we going to solve that? That's really simple. We're going to use the identity we used here. Again, cosine squared minus sine squared is cosine 2x. Difference is now we need to solve for sine 2x. Again, we need 4x. So your x is just 4x. Your x is just 4x. Your x is just 4x. 2 times 4x is 8x. Okay. Cosine squared is 1 minus sine squared. 1 minus sine squared. Minus sine squared is minus 2 sine squared. Now we need to solve for sine squared, so okay. Okay. So we take this whole thing to the other side, it becomes plus 2 sine squared 4x. Take this to the other side, you get minus cosine 8x. And you divide by 2 on both sides. 2 cancel. So you get sine squared. Sine squared what? إيش كانت? Sine squared 4x, yeah. Sine squared 4x. So sine squared 4x is equal to this. So sine squared 4x is 1 minus cosine 8x over 2. 2 can be pulled out. 32 over 2 is 16. So all you're going to find now is 1 is the integral of this. Okay, so 16, we pull 16 down. Integral of 1 is x, we put it down. So all you need now is the integral of minus cosine 8x. Minus, we put it down. So it's just the integral of cosine 8x. And that's a really easy integral. From now on, instead of doing the substitution, u is equal to 8x, بعدين du is 8 dx. You divide by 8, and you get this. And dx just becomes du over 8, and that becomes a u. And the integral of cosine becomes sine u. Instead of doing all of that garbage, and u is just 8x, so your integral just pops out to be this. But instead of doing all of this, whenever you see the integral of some function with a number inside, all you do is you take that number and you divide by it, and you turn this whole thing into a variable immediately without having to do these steps. Yeah, so let's do that again. You have the integral of cosine 8x dx, constant inside. Yeah, so you divide by it outside and you turn this whole thing into another variable. Okay, now the integral of cosine is just sine of what? Sine of u. But initially what was u? U was just 8x. So your integral evaluated to this, which is right there. Okay, now let's just distribute the 16. So here you get 16x and here you get 16 over 8. 16 over 8 is 2. So your answer is 16x minus 2 sine 8x. 2 sine 8x. ماشي. اللي بعده. Integral of 2x plus 7 over x squared plus 10x plus 25. X squared plus 10x plus 25 is just x plus 5 all squared. And let me prove that to you. We know that a squared plus 2ab plus b squared is just a plus b all squared. In our case, here you have 25, which is just 5 squared. X squared is that, so a is equal to x. So a is equal to x, صح? A is equal to x. Cool, so a is equal to x. And what is b? B is equal to 5. So b is equal to 5. So there we go, it's proven. So b is equal to 5 and a is equal to x. 2 times 5 is 10x. And there you go, 5 squared, 25. We got the exact same thing. So this whole thing is just x plus 5 all squared. dx, of course. So, what are we going to do right now? I'll show you. We know that 2x plus 7 is the same thing as saying x plus x plus x any 2 x plus x any 2x. صح? Okay. And what is 7? 7 is just 5 plus 2. 5 plus 2 is 7. X plus x is 2x. Why did we do this? Well, that's simple. Because we need x plus 5 to be somewhere. You know? So, this is just that basically. So you have x plus 5 plus 2. We're going to do a substitution. U is equal to x plus 5. So du is going to be the derivative of this, which is 1 multiplied by dx. So du and dx are the same. And x plus 5 is just u. See what just happened? Okay, so that's just u squared. And here you have x plus 2 plus u. X plus 2 plus u. We need to change x plus 2 into u somehow. So, 5, we know that 5 is just 2 plus 3. We need to find x plus 2. So we take the 3 to the other side. What do we get? We get u minus 3. So x plus 2 is just u minus 3. X plus 2 is just u minus 3. U plus u is 2u. So now you have 2u minus 3. So 2u minus 3. Now this integral is really simple. Okay. Now let's take back the 3. And now we have that u is equal to x plus 5. Okay, keep that there. Cool. Now we can split this. We get 2u over u squared minus 3 over u squared. And we're trying to integrate this. U cancel. 2 is a constant, you pull it out. 3 is a constant, you pull it out. And you just do that. So 2 is a 2. The integral of 1 over u is ln u. You know, the integral of 1 over x is ln x. So the integral of 1 over u is ln u, you know. So this is gone. So now you're left with minus 3 integral of 1 over u squared. 3 is a constant, so we can just pull it out. So you have plus 3. So now we need to find this integral. Okay. 1 over u squared is just u to the power of minus 2. The integral of x to the n is just x to the n plus 1 over n plus 1. In our case, we're talking about u, so that's the u. N is minus 2. So n is minus 2. Minus 2 plus 1 is minus 1. Minus 2 plus 1 is minus 1. So the integral of that, but we're missing something. We're missing a negative. So let's multiply by a negative on both sides. Negative, negative cancel out. So the integral of minus u to the minus 2 is just u to the minus 1. U to the minus 1 is just 1 over u. So that's just 1 over u. And now we're done. We just undo the substitution. What is u? U is x plus 5. So you get 2 ln x plus 5 plus 3 into 1 over x plus 5. We just undid the substitution. And we're done. 2 ln x plus 5. 3, 1 over x plus 5. اللي Let's continue. Now you have the... how about this? Let's take the easy questions first. So that we get finished quickly. Okay. نبلش with these integrals. So these two integrals, خلينا نخلصهم really quickly. Because they're really simple. And بعدين we'll go to the above questions. So here, you have the integral from 9 to infinity dx over 3x radical x, yeah? Okay. Dx can be there. 3 is a constant, we can pull it out. X multiplied by radical x is just x multiplied by x to the power of half, yeah? Radical x is just x to the power of half. 1 plus half is 3 over 2. So that's just x to the 3 over 2. 1 over x to the 3 over 2 is just x to the power of minus 3 over 2. Okay, so what do we have now? We need to find the integral of that. I shouldn't be mentioning this that often, but you should know this. Now that is that. So that is that. That is that. By the way, this is like the third take of the video. The first take, the video got corrupted. The second take, I had to go do some knafa. So yeah, this is the third vid. عموما, let's continue. This integral evaluates to this. Minus 3 over 2 plus 1 is just minus half. Multiply by 2 here, multiply by 2 here. 2 cancel, so that's just minus 1 there. Okay, so you have 2 over minus 1, which is just minus 2. Minus 3 over 2 plus 1 is just minus half. Minus half يعني 1 over x to the half. X to the half is radical x. So this is our integral. Our integral is minus 2 over radical x. Constant, pull it out. Minus 2 over 3, pull it out. And we're integrating from what to what? From 9 to infinity. Bottom limit, put it. Radical 9 is 3, so bottom limit is 1 over 3. The top limit, put infinity. Radical infinity is infinity. 1 over infinity is 1 over a really big number, and 1 over a really big number on the calculator is almost equal to 0. So in other words, 1 over infinity is always 0. So your upper limit is 0. And you subtract upper limit minus lower limit. 0 minus 1 over 3 is minus 1 over 3. But don't forget, you have to multiply by that now. So negative go away. 2 multiplied by 1 is 2. 3 multiplied by 3 is 9. So your answer is 2 over 9. This question is done. And we have the question after it. So I'm going to mark this with black to say it's done. اللي بعده. Integral of 1 over x squared. 1 over x squared is x to the minus 2. Yeah? Okay. Again, we're going to use this rule. But this time I'm going to skip the simplification. Well, I'm not going to skip it for your sake. That's minus 2. So that's minus 2. That's minus 2. Minus 2 plus 1 is minus 1. Minus 2 plus 1 is minus 1. X to the minus 1, yani 1 over x. So x times minus 1 is minus x. So your integral is minus 1 over x. So your integral evaluates to minus 1 over x. Okay, that's a constant, so we pull it out. And you're evaluating the integral from 1 to infinity. Bottom limit, you put 1, you get 1 over 1, which is 1. So your bottom limit is 1. And if you input your upper limit, 1 over infinity, we already said it's 0. So you have 0 minus 1. 0 minus 1 is minus 1. But then we have to multiply by minus 1. Minus, cancel out. So your answer is 1. Okay, so this question is also done. So, what other easy questions do we have? Hi. Same exact concept. Integral from 1 to infinity, 1 over x squared, radical x. Radical x, yani x to the power of half. 2 plus half, yani 5 over 2. 1 over 5 over 2, 1 over x to the power of 5 over 2 is x to the minus 5 over 2. Again, we're going to use this. You get x to the n plus 1 over n plus 1. N is minus 5 over 2. So that's minus 5 over 2. And that's minus 5 over 2. Minus 5 over 2 plus 1 is minus 3 over 2. So that's also minus 3 over 2. When you have a fraction in the denominator, you flip it. So here you have minus 3 over 2. So it becomes minus 2 over 3. And here it becomes 1 over x to the power of 3 over 2. That's it. Minus 2 over 3 is a constant, so we pull it out. So that goes away. And you're left with 1 over x to the power of 3 over 2. 1 over x to the power of 3 over 2. That's your integral. You're integrating from 1 to infinity. صح? 1 to infinity. So, from 1 to infinity. If you input 1, so that's a constant, we're going to put it outside. You have minus 2/3. Okay. Bottom limit, you put 1. 1 to that power is 1, so 1 over 1 is 1. So bottom limit is 1. Okay. You put infinity, you get infinity to some power. So infinity. 1 over infinity is 0. So the upper limit is 0. 0 minus 1 is minus 1. Minus 1 multiplied by minus 2 over 3 is just 2 over 3. That's the answer. So that's done as well. إيش ضل? Let me just remove the hard question, the easy questions. Okay, عنا هاي وعنا هاي صح؟ طيب ماشي. خلينا نبلش. Integral of ln 5x dx. Okay, or you know what? Ln, keep that to the end. Scroll down. Let's solve this, because this one's a really easy question. Okay, so here we go. Let's open up a new note. you can't see that color, it's too bold. But you can see this color hopefully. اوكي لا ازرق غامق بزبطش. خلينا نشوف فتحه شوي. هيك منيح. dy over dx is equal to 3x squared multiplied by e to the minus y. When x is 0, y is 3. And your initial conditions is when x is 0, y is 3. Cool. Let's solve this. Again, what do we do when you have a differential equation? You cross multiply, you put the dx over here. That goes away. You divide by e to the minus y, e to the minus y. Cancel out. Okay. So now you have this basically. 1 over e to the minus y is just e to the y, yeah? Yani e to the minus y is just 1 over e to the y. When you have a fraction in the denominator, you flip it, so it becomes e to the y. Or if you want to multiply by e to the y here, and you multiply by e to the y here. E to the y, e to the y, cancel out, so that goes away. You know, so this whole thing is just e to the power of y. To get rid of dx dy, what do? You integrate. Integral of 3x squared is x cubed, plus c of course. Integral of e to the x dx is just e to the x. So integral of e to the y dy is just e to the y. So this whole thing is just e to the power of y. When x is 0, y is 3. So when x is 0, y is 3. So that goes away. So c is just e to the power of 3. So c is e to the power of 3. Okay. I don't know what just happened. I'll be right back. Okay, so we established that c is just e to the power of 3. And our equation was that. Okay, now let's continue. Let's continue. C was just e to the power of 3. So, goes away. Now what do they want? They want you to find f of 4e. So they want you to find y when x is 4e. So when x is 4e, find y. So here we go. 4e cubed is just 4 cubed multiplied by e cubed. 4 cubed is 64. We can factor out e cubed and you get this. Yeah? Okay, 64 plus 1 is 65. So 65e cubed. Cool. Now, what we're going to do, we need to find y, yeah? So what do? We take ln on both sides. So you have ln here and you have ln there. Remember when you had sine and inverse sine? What happened? Sine or inverse sine cancel out, yeah? Same thing with ln and e. Ln and e are inverse functions. So e and inverse e is called ln. E or inverse e cancel out. So what are you left with? You're left with y. So y is equal to this. How can we simplify that? Really, really simple. Ln a multiplied by b is just ln a plus ln b. So ln 65 multiplied by e cubed is just ln 65 plus ln e cubed. So ln 65 plus ln e cubed. Okay. Ln a to the power of b is just b ln a. So you just pull out the power. So the 3 goes outside. And if you, on the calculator, if you put ln e, you get 1. So that goes away. So your answer is ln 65 plus 3. So your answer is ln 65 plus 3. So you have 3 plus ln k. So what is k? K is 65. وهي هذا السؤال راح. ايش ضل؟ 1 2 3 4 5. ندشركم عليها؟ لا عادي. I'll solve these. These are 5 questions. يلا. 2 questions are actually repeated. This one and this one are almost the same, I think. Yeah. Okay. So we have 5 questions left. Let's solve them really quickly. You have the integral of 3x squared plus 2x plus 1 multiplied by e to the x, yeah? Okay. When you have a function multiplied by another function, and they are not derivatives of one another, yani this is not the derivative of this, and this is not the derivative of this, then you do integration by parts. Integration by parts goes like this. This is my way of doing it. You write down d, you write down I. You write down something to differentiate and something to integrate. D yani differentiate, I yani integrate. عموما, what you do now is you pick something to differentiate, and you always pick the polynomial to differentiate. As long as you don't have ln in your expression, you always pick the polynomial to differentiate. So you pick this to differentiate, and you pick the other one to integrate. Why is that? Because when you differentiate a polynomial, the derivative of this is this, and the derivative of this is this, and the derivative of that is 0. You eventually get to 0. You know what I mean? So first thing you do is you find the derivative until you get to 0. So the derivative of that is 6x plus 2. The derivative of that is 6, and the derivative of that is 0. The integral of that is e to the x, and the integral of that is e to the x, and the integral of that is e to the x. Then you put plus minus in this alternating format always. Then what you do is you put diagonals to cross multiply. And when you reach the very last line, you put a horizontal line. We'll come back to this horizontal line. Let's deal with the diagonals. Diagonals, yani you cross multiply. So you multiply this by this, so you get 3x squared plus 2x plus 1 into e to the x. So that goes away. Then you multiply this by that, so you get minus 6x plus 2 into e to the x. So that goes away. But then you have plus 6 into e to the x, so plus 6 into e to the x. But then you have to deal with this horizontal line. What does the horizontal line mean? So first is first. First is first. See this negative? Of course, you put the negative there, as always. Then you multiply this by this, as always. So 0 multiplied by e to the x is 0. The only difference is now you actually have to integrate. Horizontal line, yani you integrate that. The integral of 0 is 0. So that goes away. So this is your entire integral, and we are set now. They're telling you after you find the integral, evaluate it when x is 1. So evaluate it when x is 1. When x is 1, this goes away, this goes away, this goes away, that goes away, that goes away, and that goes away. 6 plus 2 is 8. So that's minus 8e. Minus 8e plus 6e is just minus 2e. 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 1 is 6. So you have 6e minus 2e, which is just 4e. So your answer is 4e. If you put that on the calculator, you get 10 point something, and 10.5 I think. You round it, you get 11. Or you get like 10.6 or something. المهم, you round it and you end up with 11, you know? That's done. And we go to the next question, which is this question. So you have the integral from 0 to 4, 11x sine x. Again, a function multiplied by another function, and they're not derivatives of one another. So what do? You do integration by parts. And as long as there is no ln in the expression, you choose the polynomial to be your differentiation, and the other thing to be your integration. The derivative of that is 11, the derivative of that is 0. The integral of that is minus cosine x, and the integral of this is minus sine x. And you always put the alternating thing plus, minus, plus. Horizontal line, diagonal line, وبعدين horizontal line. So now you have this multiplied by that, so you have 11x multiplied by minus cosine x minus 11 multiplied by minus sine x minus يعني plus. You basically have 11 sine x. وبعدين you have this, صح? So this, يعني you put a plus. بعدين you multiply this by that. 0 multiplied by anything is 0. And since this is a horizontal line, you integrate. Integral of 0 is 0. So that goes away. And this is your entire integral. So what happens now is we just substitute the values. شو صار? Okay. You integrate from 0 to 4. When you input 0, this becomes a 0, and this becomes a 0. So the lower limit evaluates to 0. Lower limit evaluates to 0. The upper limit, you put a 4, yeah? So 4, you put a 4 there. 4 multiplied by 11 is 44. Then cosine of 4. Cosine of 4 is given to be minus 0.7. So minus 0.7. Minus minus بتصير plus, فهاي 0.7. Sine of 4 is minus 0.8. So that's your answer. And that is a 22. So your upper limit is 22. And I have 22 minus 0, which is just 22. Cool. That question is done. ضل هذا السؤال هذا السؤال وهذا السؤال. عموما, these two questions, this one and this one, are really easy. So let's go. Integral of ln 5x dx. So you have ln 5x multiplied by 1. Anything multiplied by 1 is the thing itself. You know? So what's going to happen now is, again, it's integration by parts, because we have a function and another function, and they're not derivatives of one another. But whenever you have ln, you always differentiate the ln. That's a rule for you. You always differentiate the ln. So you differentiate the ln and you integrate the other function. Okay. And you only differentiate it once, best once. Okay. The derivative of ln 5x is 1 over x. And the integral of 1 is x. Why is the derivative of this 1 over x? Well, ln 5x, derivative of the inside is 5. Derivative of the outside is 1 over 5x, yeah? 5 cancel out, you get 1 over x. And what we do now, again, plus minus, diagonal line, horizontal line. So now you have ln 5x multiplied by x. So you have that. بعدين, so we're done with this diagonal line. بعدين you have a minus, you put a minus. بعدين you multiply this by this. 1 over x multiplied by x is 1. Or you integrate that. Integral of 1 is x. So that's your answer. And the question over here is the exact same question, by the way. Exact same question. And the answer turns out to be the same, but the 5 becomes a 2. So here the answer is x ln 5x minus x. So here the answer is going to be x ln 2x minus x, using the exact same format. In fact, the integral of ln ax is always going to be x ln ax minus x plus c. Always, whatever a is. And we can prove that using the same method I showed you. So this question is done, and this question is the exact same question. فهيك بضل علينا هذا السؤال وبس. Yay! Okay. Last question, and I shall be set free, I guess. So 3, the 3e x squared ln x over 3. So 3 to 3e x squared ln x over 3. صح ولا؟ Yep. And so let's finish this on a good note. الساعة هسه قديش؟ الساعة هسه 12. Okay. تقريبا 12. Okay. Function multiplied by another function, they're not derivatives of one another. So what do? You do integration by parts. When you have ln, you always differentiate the ln, and you always integrate the other function, and you always do it always once. So the integral of x squared is just x cubed over 3, and the derivative of ln x over 3 is just gonna be 1 over x. No, it's gonna be 1 over x, sorry. In fact, the derivative of ln ax, whatever a is always 1 over x. Again, I'll just prove it really quickly. Ln x over 3. Derivative of the inside is 1 over 3. Derivative of the outside is 1 x over 3. When you have a fraction in the denominator, you flip it so it becomes 3 over x. 3 cancel out, you're left with 1 over x. So 1 over x. Okay. Again, plus, minus, cross, multiply, وبعدين horizontal line. So cross multiply, you get x cubed over 3 multiplied by ln x over 3. بعدين في minus, بعدين you multiply this by this. So what ends up happening is x and that cancel out, you get x squared over 3. So x squared over 3. But then since there's a horizontal line, you integrate. And yeah. So this is what our integral ends up to be. Integral, so this gets pulled out, so you have 1 over 3, integral x squared. Integral of x squared is just x cubed over 3. 1 over 3 multiplied by 3 is just x3 over 9. And that is your integral. So what do we do now? Just input the values from 3 to 3e. So from 3 to 3e. So what happens now? Aywa? Yeah, please disappear. Okay. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. Okay, let's input the lower limit. Lower limit, lower limit. 3 over 3 is 1. Ln 1 is 0. So that's a 0. So that goes away. 3 cubed is 27. 27 over 9 is 3. So lower limit is minus 3. Okay, so lower limit is minus 3. Let's memorize that. Yeah, so lower limit is minus 3. Let's find the upper limit. Upper limit, you input 3e, صح? So let's input 3e. So here you have 3e. You have 3e. You have 3e. So 3 و 3 cancel out. Ln e is 1, so that goes away. اوكي وهون بتصير 3 cubed e cubed. هون نفس الشيء 3 cubed e cubed. 3 cubed, so that and that cancel, becomes squared. With that, 3 cubed is 27. 27 over 9 is 3. Okay, so 9 squared is 9. So now you have 9e cubed minus 3e cubed, and that is equivalent to 6e cubed. So your upper limit is 6e cubed. So 6e cubed minus 3. Minus minus, but still plus. So that's your answer. 6e cubed plus 3. And that's your answer in the sheet. So yeah, that's it.